Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a kind of an interesting topic. I don't know if anyone really sort of talks about this, but I've had quite a luxury journey. I have been buying luxury handbags since I was 15 years old. Pretty much as soon as I could start legally working is what I would do. I'd go to work and save money so I could buy luxury handbags. So I've had quite an eventful journey. So this topic is going to be about all the handbags that I have actually sold, but I would repurchase them, because there is a flip side to it. I have videos on my channel about my worst luxury purchases, like kind of the bags that I wouldn't repurchase, and then all the bags that you know, I have owned and would never buy again. I do have a couple of those videos on my channel, so I will link them in the description bar down below. But yeah, today's video is going to be about all the bags that I sold, but I actually would repurchase them. So I'm going to tell you why I sold them anyway. But before I dive into today's video, if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button below, and also the bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. I upload twice a week, on a Wednesday and on a weekend. The bags that I'm most likely to repurchase sooner than later, I'm going to leave them to the very, very end. But otherwise, we're going to start off with the bags that, yes, I would possibly repurchase them. Not planning to right now anytime soon, but there is still that possibility. I haven't ruled them out completely. And wherever possible, I'm going to put pictures on the screen of these bags that I did once own. So all right, let's dive right in, okay? The first bag is the Chanel Urban Spirit backpack. So I owned this, I don't know when, maybe like when I was about 26 perhaps, or something like that, maybe around about then, I think. And I owned it in black with silver hardware. It was in the chevron calf skin, and I actually bought this from like a personal shopper called Glam Shock. I think they still exist as Glam Shock. I bought this bag at the time because backpacks were really in, actually, and I thought that I needed a backpack because I was going to, I think at the time I was actually pregnant. Yeah, I was pregnant at the time, I believe, and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna need a backpack for when my daughter is born, so that's how I kind of justified it. Plus it was Chanel, so, and I'd always wanted like a Chanel backpack. Really, I'd always wanted a vintage one, but I decided to go with the Urban Spirit. Also, the Urban Spirit was still fairly new, so I kind of just bought into the hype of it. Obviously it didn't work out for me, but it didn't work out for me in a sense that I really wasn't sort of reaching for it, and it was quite an expensive backpack. And I also bought, I feel, the wrong size as well. I bought the small size and I should have got the larger size. So the small size didn't really fit much, and if you're going to be using a backpack, you would want it to fit quite a substantial amount, like not like the size of, like, say, a backpack you would use for high school, but you would want a backpack to fit like your drink bottle, you know, your phone, your keys, your wallet, maybe some snacks or something like that for your kids, like a change of clothes for them or something. Like, you would just want it to fit a substantial amount. But the small Urban Spirit backpack was pretty much like a mini bag. It hardly fit anything, you know. So I ended up selling it. I think I can't remember if I probably lost a little bit on that, I think, but not all too much, because with Chanel they do price increases all the time, and I sold it at the time that the backpack was still extremely hot. So I think I only lost maybe around about $300, $500 Australian after it had been used as well. For the Chanel Urban Spirit backpack, I would potentially repurchase it, potentially. I feel like this is why I'm listing this one first, because it's kind of like a bit, I'm not quite sure, but if I were to, I would definitely go with the large size. And if I were to buy it, it would definitely be pre-loved. I'd have to be going pre-loved to save a decent amount of money. There is no way I would buy the Chanel Urban Spirit backpack at full price, because it's a backpack and I don't use them an awful lot. So yeah, potentially would rebuy it. I'm not saying that I would never, but I put it on the list because there's still that kind of thing in my mind. When I do look through photos and see that backpack, I think, oh, I would probably repurchase this in the larger size. Moving on to the next one, the Trendy CC. So I used to own the Trendy CC in what they called beige clair. I didn't really find it to be a beige. I thought it was like a salmon pink, to be honest. But it was like a salmony sort of beige. A lot of people like this color. When I put this on my worst purchases video, people couldn't believe that I actually sold this bag. So I didn't sell it because I didn't like the bag. I sold it because I found that the color just wasn't working out for me. I felt like it clashed a bit with my skin tone. Again, also I wanted to let it go to fund a dream Hermes bag. So that was kind of like my mentality with it, was like, it's not really working out for me, and that's why I sold it. However, I actually really love the Trendy CC. I think the Trendy CC is a fantastic Chanel bag. Don't like the price of it though, to be honest. I don't. I feel like it's very, very expensive for a lambskin handbag, and I'm not the sort of one to be like judgy on leathers, because I appreciate soft buttery leathers. I have a Swift Kelly, you know, I have an Evercolor, a couple of Evercolor bags, so yeah, I kind of feel like it's not the fact that it's lambskin, it's just the fact that it's a very delicate bag somewhat, because it's all over lambskin, has a top handle, has a metal plate at the very top of the bag. So I also feel like there's a lot to the bag that makes it a little bit more dainty and not carefree. Like, it's not a carefree bag, and then it's very expensive. As well as the fact Chanel doesn't have like kind of like a spa service. Like, you can give your bag back to them and they can send it off to Paris, but they don't really advertise that they have a spa service. I think that it depends on the location that your Chanel store is, and they might just use local spas. Like, I know in Australia they just use a local spa service. They don't send it off to Paris unless it needs a full-on repair or something like that that the local spa can't do. But the Trendy CC, I do like the bag. I just wouldn't buy it brand new. I would have to buy it pre-loved, and I would have to buy it like under $5,000. If it was over $5,000, I'd just forget about it. I couldn't be bothered. Maybe in like a few years time that could change, because obviously inflation, but right now, at the time of filming this video, I would repurchase a Trendy CC. I would want it in probably in like a neutral color, maybe black or something, but it's not in the pipeline anytime soon. It's just something that I would potentially repurchase, because I did like the bag. It's just the color didn't work out for me. The next one is the Lady Dior in the medium and the mini size. So I did own both of them. I had it in the mini size first in a beautiful like gray, silvery kind of pearlescent color. It wasn't metallic, it was just like a pearlescent color. It was beautiful. And again, this was another case of selling it to fund an Hermes bag. The mini size though, I did find it to be quite small. So at the time, it just really wasn't right for my collection as well, because it was quite a small bag and I wasn't finding much use from like really mini bags, especially because I was still a new mum as well. So I was always having to carry things around for my daughter, that sort of thing. So even though now looking back, I could utilize that kind of small handbag, like totally could, because there's now more diversity in the bag collection that I have, but back then there really wasn't a lot of diversity in it. So I would potentially repurchase the Dior, Lady Dior Mini. Again, I'd probably want to go pre-loved. I feel like the Lady Dior does not hold its value. The medium Lady Dior, I did own that in a vintage version. I purchased it pre-loved for an absolute bargain for like under $1,000 Australian. And then I conditioned it, sort of polished the metal and everything and made it look fantastic. And it was a really great size bag. I thought that the size of it was fantastic. I just wasn't in love with it, you know. And I knew that the fact that I had kind of restored the bag, I knew it would be easy sell for a profit. So that was really kind of my going into it. I knew that if I didn't love it enough, I could easily restore the bag and sell it for a nice decent profit anyway, which I did. But I would repurchase that, but I'd probably want to go with the supple Lady Dior. I don't think that they do that anymore, so I'd probably have to go pre-loved, but I just prefer like the more supple style of the Lady Dior in that bigger size, because otherwise it's very structured and sort of like box-like. And that's not something I've ever really sort of been like a fan of. But yeah, the Lady Dior medium potentially would repurchase. The next one is the Louis Vuitton Speedy 25. So I did own this, I think I've owned this a couple times, but a long time ago. These are like my OG bags, the Speedy 25. I had it probably when I was like 17 years old, and then used it for a bit, and then sold it to get the limited edition version. And then I found that the limited edition version with the cherries on it was too loud and it was hard to wear, so I ended up selling it again. So, and then I've had the Speedy 25 in the bandolier and the damier bean. Wasn't in love with damier bean print. I never have been in love with the damier bean. I've always been more into monogram canvas. And again, I sold that to fund a Hermes bag anyway. So I would definitely repurchase the Louis Vuitton Speedy 25. I don't know if I would buy one new, because I feel like the Louis Vuitton price point, I can't really justify it. And then the vachetta gets really, like, it does get old and gets patina. So I kind of feel like you're buying a bag that kind of ages in its leather and the vachetta, which, you know, it's not that, I don't find that to be a bad thing. It's just that there is an abundance of them on the pre-loved market as well. So yeah, I would repurchase it, but I probably want to go pre-loved for that. Probably, I don't know. But with Louis Vuitton, they do so many price increases. So I feel like also as well, like if you buy one, if you wait like 10 years and you look after the bag, it will hold its value anyway. So I don't know. Not sure about it. If I would buy new, buy pre-loved, if I'd buy the bandolier again, or if I would even buy it at all? Don't know, just potentially. We're just brainstorming a bit here on the bags that I still kind of like and would potentially repurchase. The next one is the Saint Laurent tote bag. So they came out with a tote bag, I don't know how long ago now, maybe like, I think it was around about 2014 or something like that. But yeah, it was a really cool full leather tote bag, very, very lightweight, a nice big size, and also had like a clochette hanging from it as well with like the YSL hardware on it. And I thought it was a really cool bag, very great price point. And again, I sold it to fund an Hermes bag, of course. I'm not sure where I was up to. I had to go get my son because he wanted to see his mum rather than hang out with his dad. So yeah, in a nutshell, the YSL tote bag, fantastic tote bag. I sold it, like I said, to fund an Hermes bag. This would probably be the only like traditional tote bag shape that I would actually really consider repurchasing because it had such a great price point. But yeah, I don't have like a tote bag in my collection, but I feel like the Saint Laurent tote bag I probably would consider repurchasing if I could find the color that I like, just because it was such a lightweight tote bag. And I'm not into the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, but it had the same sort of shape. So yeah, I think that's a really cool tote bag. The next one is the Chanel Gabrielle bag. I had this in the small size in like that iridescent purple. Really cute bag. I found it difficult to match that color to my outfits because it was just so like rainbow unicorn sort of color, and I was really just much into neutrals. So I wanted like a rainbow bag because I liked the whole iridescent look, plus I missed out on the rainbow like collection from Cruise back in, I don't remember the year, but you know which one I'm talking about, like the rainbow boy bag and all that sort of thing. I missed out on that. So when they came out with this iridescent Gabrielle bag, I thought that that would be kind of the next best thing, but really in reality it's not. And I thought that that would kind of do the same thing, but it didn't. So I think that I kind of only had that for like a week. I pretty much only tried it on at home and tried to style it, never walked out of the house with it because it just didn't work out for me, and I ended up just trading it off for the Chanel Trendy, which pretty much put me in that situation that I was in the first place, is that I had to exchange it for something else because you couldn't get a refund or anything. And then the Chanel Trendy, I kind of knew I liked the bag, but I didn't get enough time to research the color or anything. Chanel Gabrielle bag itself, the small size, I would repurchase it just in more neutral colorway, or maybe like a tweed version, or even the medium size. I would definitely consider repurchasing it because I thought it was a really, really cool bag. I think it's uber cool. I like how there's so many different ways that you can wear it, and I like that it's a little bit more edgy as well. And now it's a classic for Chanel anyway too. The next one is the Louis Vuitton Multicolor TROUVILLE. Now this is a long time ago that I owned this bag, very long time ago, and it was definitely sold to fund my first Hermes bag, which is a Kelly 32 in Ardennes. I know I definitely sold it for that reason. Yeah, I would just repurchase it because it's multicolor, and they've never come back with multicolor. Even though they're coming back with something similar, it is definitely not the same. There is nothing like the Louis Vuitton Takashi Murakami collaboration with Marc Jacobs, when Marc Jacobs was the main designer for Louis Vuitton. There is nothing like it. So I would love to add like a multicolor handbag back in my collection. It's just that the price is so expensive in contrast for the actual item, so that's kind of the only problem. And I feel like you can probably find some good deals, but in my mind, because I knew that when I bought them before they weren't like a crazy price, I still can't help but think that they're too expensive because I know that the prices I paid for them before were not that expensive. So yeah, but I would repurchase that bag. I thought that the TROUVILLE bag was super cool, definitely. The next one is a Birkin 30 in black with palladium hardware. So I sold this bag because I got the offer for the Birkin 25 in Rose Azalie, and I'd also bought the Kelly 28 in Trench because I didn't think I was going to get an offer from the store so quickly, which I did, and I was surprised by. And I also found that I wasn't using the Birkin 30 much because I was a new mum, and I found that bag that didn't have a shoulder strap to be very cumbersome and not useful. And at the time, because I just got the Birkin 25, I didn't want to let that go. But now, like, obviously I have a Birkin 30 and it's not going anywhere, and I don't use it that much now that I have a newborn again. So, but I wouldn't let go of it because it's just that I now realize it's still very purposeful to have in the collection. So the Birkin 30 I already kind of own, but I would consider buying another Birkin 30 in black further later down the line, maybe perhaps. it's not an immediate one that I would consider buying anytime soon, just because I still already have the Birkin 30 in a tube and that's not going anywhere, and I'm not getting much use from that right now. But I definitely recommend that the Birkin 30 is a fantastic bag. I think that it's better than the Birkin 25 when it comes to like usability, that's for sure. The next one is the Chanel Coco Handle Mini. So yes, I recently just had this bag. I never used it. I bought it as like kind of a second birthday bag because I didn't get the like a Birkin or a Kelly for my birthday, so I kind of wanted to top it off with the Chanel Coco Handle Mini because I love the Coco Handle Mini. But I decided, look, it's not my year for Chanel, it's not the right time, so I ended up rehoming that bag to a fantastic new owner who is a subby of mine and someone I have been in regular contact with pretty much since I started YouTube anyway. So I'm very, very happy that it actually went to her, and I know that she would absolutely love that purple Coco handle. I think out of all the Coco handles, I reckon that the purple was the best in my opinion. Like, even though I got into the hype of the lilac and the beige, the purple was just stunning. It was just such a beautiful unicorn bag. But I would repurchase a Coco Handle Mini yet again. I would definitely. It's just that it isn't the right time. Like, this year I'm filming the video in 2020. These bags, I'm not planning on purchasing them anytime soon, except perhaps the Hermes bags that will get it down to later on in the list. But the Coco Handle Mini, I definitely would consider buying that in 2021, no doubt about it. I think it's a great bag, especially for the price point. You get a top handle with it. It's like, it's not as expensive as, say, the Chanel Small Classic Flap. There is quite a good price difference there. By the time I upload this video, I hope they haven't done another price increase on the Coco Handle Mini, because yeah, I would consider buying it next year, no doubt about it. I think that it's, in my eyes, it's the #1 Chanel bag to get, really it is. Until it gets to the same price as those Chanel Classic Flaps, then maybe I'll change my mind. But right now, it's the #1 bag to buy. Next one is the Kelly 32 that I had. I had one in Ardennes, which is a vintage one, and then I had one in Clemence in CL, not owned it simultaneously at the same time. The Kelly 32 in Ardennes, that was actually the first Hermes bag I ever bought. And then I decided, look, you know, I knew ultimately I wanted a Birkin. I always wanted a Birkin as my first bag, but I went for the Kelly 32 because it was cheaper, and that's obviously, it was a vintage bag as well. And I had sold like a fair decent amount of my collection, but I wasn't prepared to sell everything at the time. So the Kelly 32 didn't work out for me because in my heart I knew I wanted the Birkin. So I ended up selling that to fund the Birkin, and then sold some more of my designer collection to get the Birkin of my dreams, which was the black one, but you know. And then the Kelly 32 CL, I actually bought that after I sold the Birkin 30 in black later on down the line, when I realized I wasn't using it because I had my daughter, like she was only a baby. And I sold that because I wanted a shoulder strap bag, so I decided that the Kelly 32 would be more suitable for that. However, the Kelly 32 in CL, when I bought it, was actually advertised as blue lin. It turned out to be CL, and I found that out when I decided to sell it outright to Fashion File, that it was actually the wrong color, and that's why I was like, this doesn't look like a blue gray. This more looked like it didn't look right. So when I got the bag, I'm like, I wasn't in love with it from the get-go. Plus, Clemence leather is extremely super duper slouchy. And I did know that as well at the time. I think if it was in the right color, I would have felt differently about it. So yeah, it just really, there was just a lot of things that I wasn't totally in love with it. And that's kind of the problem when you do buy pre-loved. Even though I'm a big advocate for buying pre-loved, sometimes it isn't always exactly as what you think it is going to be. You can go in with the best intentions and think that the bag is going to be right for you and do all the research and look at all the photos, but then you'll get it and then it's just not exactly as you thought it would be, so then it doesn't make your heart sing. So unfortunately that does happen sometimes with the resale pre-loved market. But I would repurchase the Kelly 32. Actually, the Kelly 32 is on my wish list for 2020. I think that it actually even suits my like size. I don't think it's too big for me at all, but perhaps next year, we will wait and see what sort of happens. The next one is the Birkin 25. So as you know, I owned the Birkin 25 in Rose Azalie, and the only reason that that was sold was because at the time I wasn't in a good mental state. I was suffering from postnatal depression and body dysmorphia, and I felt that a bright pink bag was drawing too much attention to me, and I didn't feel like I was worthy of the attention. Like I said, body dysmorphia, that sort of thing. I didn't want people looking at me. I kind of wanted to just hide, you know, that sort of mindset. It was a horrible time, like period of time, but it wasn't. It was just postnatal depression really in a nutshell, and the body dysmorphia came as well with the postnatal depression. But I would definitely purchase again a Birkin 25. I have asked my local store for a Birkin 25, but I kind of wanted it to be rose gold hardware if I were to buy a Birkin 25. Especially if it was from the boutique. I really feel like my best chances is to actually ask for a rose gold hardware one, because if you buy rose gold hardware in the resale market, it is quite like a premium, and I kind of don't feel like I know that even regardless of the Birkin 25 is always a premium, but a Birkin 25 with rose gold hardware is even more of a premium than what it generally is. So I kind of feel like that hardware isn't really justifiable for the extra like couple $1,000s just for hardware. The next one that I have on my list is the Constance 18. I did own one in black Swift hardware. That was bought pre-loved, and it was a case of when you think you're going into the purchase getting what you thought the condition was, but it turns out it wasn't as good as what you thought. So that's kind of what happened with that one. I wasn't that impressed with the condition. It had like stretched out quite a lot on the gussets, and once leather is stretched, it's irreparable, it's irreversible, it can't be undone. And that is why I also say with bag inserts that you really should use only the 7 Rue Paradis inserts. So as you know, 7 Rue Paradis is the only inserts that I now use in my Hermes bags. They do make it for the Birkin and then the Kelly, and then they make it for the Evelyne, and now at the time I'm filming this video I've been told that they are making a insert for the PICOTIN as well, which is fantastic. I'm so thrilled to hear that. So yeah, stretched out leather, cannot be reversed. That's why I don't use felt inserts or anything else. I only use the 7 Rue Paradis ones. My coupon code, I'll put it on the screen here. It gets you €30 off one insert, POF 30. And then if you happen to need 2 inserts, it's POF 70. That had stretched gussets on that Constance 18. That was the only reason I sold it. Otherwise, I do love a Constance 18 in black. I think it's beautiful. And then I also had the Constance 18 in blue electric Tadillac. The problem with that was the color. I went into the purchase thinking, yes, I need a pop of color in my collection, because at the time I didn't have a pop of color. And I thought, yeah, blue will work out for me. It looks great against my skin tone, which it does, but I just don't like royal blue handbags. And I realized it after I got it that it wasn't making my heart sing. Like, the color was beautiful, but when I looked at it, I kind of was like, ugh, like royal blue, like, no, this isn't vibing for me. And it's like, you can go in with the best intentions and go, this is a beautiful bag, and you'll see it in the pictures and you go, yeah, that's totally gonna work for me. I know that color looks nice on me. But if it doesn't make your heart sing, that's a warning sign. And that bag did not make my heart sing. It was more like a compromise of me going, I needed a pop of color, and the price point at the time was actually really good, because Constance was still quite high in premium in the resale market. So yeah, I should have listened to my gut, that my gut was saying that the color doesn't make my heart sing. So it's so important to make sure that the color makes your heart sing. I feel like we can compromise on other things like bag shape and that sort of stuff, or size, somewhat, as long as the color makes our heart sing. So I would purchase again a Constance 18, no doubt about it, definitely would. It would just be a matter of making sure I get the right color this time around. That's all it would be, and ideally buying brand new or excellent condition. Looking back, I've made some mistakes, there's no doubt about it, but I always do my best to try and learn from them anyway. All right, now moving on to the next one is the Kelly 28 in Trench. This bag was sold because I got the Birkin 25 and Rose Azalee. And I felt super guilty owning more than one Hermes bag. At the time, I only wanted to have one Hermes bag. So that was just kind of my mentality. I just felt way too guilty because I was still new to the house and buying their items and stuff like that. I just felt guilty. So that was probably the biggest reason that I sold that Kelly 28 in Trench, was because I felt guilty. And I also felt that the color wasn't ideal on me. That yellowy kind of tone, I felt that it maybe didn't suit me. Now looking back, I reckon I totally would have been fine with it. I think I was just, again, it was also a bad state of mind as well. It was the time that I had postnatal depression as well, perhaps why I also felt super guilty for owning it too. Yeah, I would definitely purchase again a Kelly 28, no doubt about it. And at some point in time, I'm sure that you will see me owning a Kelly 28 bag again. The one that I had was in Vuitton. I kind of like the Kelly 28 in Vuitton because it makes the bag not as big versus when it's in the SELLIER, but I wouldn't rule out owning a Kelly 28 in SELLIER either. We're almost to the very end of the list, and I have here that the final item that is on my list that I would repurchase. I did own once a Kelly 25 in SELLIER in Rose Ducour. Now, for a few reasons I sold this bag was, again, same thing, it was a color. I wasn't vibing with colors yet. I still was not exactly 100% out of postnatal depression and body dysmorphia. I totally love the Kelly 25 in a Sellier though. I love it. I have the Kelly 25 in the Swift, in the Vuitton, and I love that bag, but I totally love a Kelly 25 in Sellier. I don't regret selling the Rose Japur one because the Rose Japur one actually had scratches on it from the previous owner, because I bought it like pre-loved. I think it was like 2 years old at the time I bought it, and it had been sparred by Hermes, but I could still see the touch-up spots on that bag. I could still see it. And even when I sent it to get sparred, it was still, no matter what, it was still visible. So yeah, I feel like that probably affected my love for that bag. And also because when I bought the bag, she was like, oh, it's like new, but really, honey, it wasn't like new. There were scratches all over the bag and dots all over it from touch up, and even white scratches everywhere. I ended up getting a partial refund on that because I still liked the bag, but I probably should have at the time, looking back, I probably should have just sent it back for a full refund and disputed it with eBay, so she would have to pay the shipping for her to take the bag back, because it really wasn't as described. So that's kind of a big key indicator. Again, it comes down to like, yeah, when you buy pre-loved, sometimes it isn't what it seems, but I still enjoy buying pre-loved, and I still enjoy buying in the resale market as well. It's not easy to score from the boutique, but generally when the bags come from the boutique, usually you are more satisfied because you get to see it then and there, and if there's something wrong, you can knock it back. 100% I would add that back to my collection. My dream would be to have a Kelly 25 Sellier in a horseshoe stamp, bought in the resale market, because there's no way I'm going to get offered one of those from my boutique to do. I just don't spend enough. So I would probably buy a horseshoe stamp in a Kelly 25. That's what I would love. But I'm not saying that that is the only style of horseshoe stamp bag that I want, is a Kelly 25. It's just that that's my ultimate dream. That is all for the bags that I have that I actually sold and would repurchase. But I do have a couple honorable mentions, bags that I actually already repurchased. The first one, I once had a Gris Constance 24, and I sold it because in Epsom leather I found it very cumbersome. It was too easy to scratch, and it was also very boxy feeling on the body, and whenever I put the kids in the car and I had that bag slung on my shoulder, it kind of always fell off because it was so weighted by, like, it was just a heavier leather in Epsom for the Constance 24. But I repurchased in the Rose Azalea Ever color. I absolutely love this color, and I absolutely love this bag. I was considering to sell this bag at some point if I could get back what I paid, not because I didn't love it, but because I wanted to fund buying a horseshoe stamp bag. And as I just said, they are crazy expensive in the resale market. So it's not like I'm selling it because I don't like it. It's just a matter of I know that Rose Azalea is very easy to repurchase in the resale market, and I bought this bag for the color. Most importantly, it was for the color. But I do like having a bit of everything from Hermes in my collection. That is always going to be my ultimate goal, to have a bit of everything. But yeah, this is a repurchase for me. So I did end up buying a Constance 24 again. Evercolor is so much better for the Constance 24. Even Swift is better because it's so much more lightweight than what it is on Epsom. And I also find this is not easy to scratch at all. And then the other one that I did repurchase, because I once owned a PICOTIN 18, not the locked version. I owned the PICOTIN 18 in the vintage version, and it was in gold, but I didn't know at the time. It was a noob era. I didn't know much about the PICOTIN that doesn't, like the earlier versions pre like 2006 didn't come with a lock. So that was the only reason I let that go, and I sold that for a profit anyway. But yeah, I did repurchase recently a PICOTIN 18. This is in blue pale. So the PICOTIN lock with gold hardware. This was offered to me at my local store by my sales associate. I was asking for a blue broom bag, and they hardly got anything in the spring summer colors anyway at my store. PICOTIN 18 is a repurchase for me. Once sold, now bought it again in the PICOTIN lock, and yeah, that is it. That is everything. So those are all the bags that I once owned, did sell them, but I would actually repurchase them. But if you notice, the repurchases, most of them would be some kind of variation on it, like a different color perhaps, or a different leather. You know, truth be told, they're not all exactly an exact repurchase, but I still think that this warranted a video to kind of talk about the items that, you know, why you sold them, what didn't exactly work out for you, but it's not like you completely wrote off that bag altogether. It was just a part of it that didn't work out for you, or you just weren't totally in love with it and there was something else that you wanted to buy that you loved. Because you know, at the end of the day, we only live once. We have to do what makes us happy. But that is it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.